Not everyone is born under a solid roof. For Serena Valesco, her life began in silence and solitude, the daughter of a housemaid growing up in a mansion where she never truly belonged. After her mother's sudden death, she was left with an aching void, no family to lean on, and a question that was never answered: who was her father? There was no time for tears. Serena kept working at the Kingston estate, one of the most powerful families in real estate and tech. She tended the gardens, folded laundry, and moved like a ghost through the halls. But everything changed on one rainy afternoon. "Serena," came the voice of Leo Kingston from the porch. "I need you for something important. Leo's moving back in." Serena turned around, bowing slightly. "Mr. Leo? The CEO?" Margot nodded, her tone lowering. "He doesn't need someone to control him. He needs someone to keep him human." A new task, a quiet storm approaching. Serena had no idea whose life she was about to step into, and even less idea who was quietly stepping into hers. What Serena didn't know was that from that moment on, every step she took was being watched, every breath recorded. In the shadows, someone had been looking for her. Not to bring her home, but to make sure she disappears forever. Leo Kingston, 27, the youngest tech real estate CEO in the city, had just been dubbed the chaotic genius by a major business magazine. He had it all: brilliance, wealth, and an ego large enough to fill the mansion he was about to move back into. Serena stood quietly by the front door the day Leo returned. A sleek black sports car rolled up. Out stepped a man in a crisp white shirt, designer sunglasses, and an expression that screamed indifference. "Welcome home, Leo," Margot greeted with a soft smile. "Home? Thought this was a retirement center," Leo muttered as he dragged his suitcase inside without a glance. Serena instinctively took a step back, but Margot's voice stopped her. "Serena will be staying with you." Leo froze. "Come again?" "You heard me," Margot said calmly. "You need someone with you, not to control you, to make sure you don't self-destruct." "What the hell, Mom?" Leo turned to look Serena up and down. "What is she? Tutor, nurse, or a babysitter?" "I'm just a housekeeper," Serena said softly. "No intention of interfering." "Right," Leo scoffed. "An upgraded nanny. Fascinating." That night, Serena was placed in the room across from Leo's. Everything felt foreign: the elegant decor, the faint scent of cologne from the hallway, and the bass from his music bleeding through the walls. Leo lounged on the living room sofa, laptop on his lap, headphones in, but music blaring for the whole world to hear. "How's your cooking?" he asked without looking up. "I can cook," Serena replied. "Not Michelin-starred, but no food poisoning so far." "Good. I hate that cold, soulless restaurant food. Mom said you used to tend the garden, clean up. Now I guess..." "You're cleaning me?" "Only if you need it." "I don't," Leo said flatly. "I can survive without a shadow." Serena didn't argue. She knew she wasn't there to please him. She was there to keep a promise. To Margot, the only person who gave her shelter after her mother died. A few days passed. The atmosphere remained tense. Leo slept at odd hours, ate whatever, and left the house in a mess. "You forgot your coffee mug in the studio," Serena said gently. "I didn't hire you to be my mother," he shot back. "No, but I clean this house, and if you spill that coffee over your $1 million design, no one's gonna clean that up for you." For the first time, Leo went silent. In moments like that, Serena began to see it. Beneath the arrogance, Leo was heartbreakingly lonely. And what she didn't understand yet was why his eyes always sought hers during the most random of moments. What Serena didn't know was that the most dangerous game of her life had just begun, and the one person she had to guard against was her own heart. Day by day, Serena worked like a shadow inside the Whitestone mansion. She picked up Leo's mess, made breakfast, and disappeared before he entered the room. Though they lived under the same roof, an invisible wall stood between them, built from pride, tension, and thick, unspoken silence. "You move like a ghost," Leo muttered one morning, catching her washing glasses in the kitchen. Serena didn't turn. "I thought that's what you preferred." Leo stepped in, arms crossed. It's not that I hate your presence, I just don't know how to deal with it. It made her pause. For the first time, he didn't sound cold or sarcastic. He sounded confused, like he was confessing something he couldn't quite understand. One late afternoon, Serena was picking up papers scattered across Leo's office when dizziness hit. She gripped the table, struggling to stay upright. "Serena?" Leo entered from the hallway, eyes flaring with concern. "What's wrong?" "I'm fine," she smiled weakly, just stood up too fast. "Sit down." He reached for her arm, warm and steady. "Have you eaten?" "Not yet. I was about to cook." "Nope, stay there." 10 minutes later, Leo brought out a bowl of noodles. Nothing fancy, but hot and fragrant. Serena stared at him as he placed it in front of her, speechless. "Don't look at me like I saved the world," he muttered. "I was hungry, that's all." She chuckled. "Funny. Tastes like kindness to me." From that point on, their silences began to soften. Mornings spent with tea, Leo reading the paper, Serena managing expense lists. Afternoons spent in the garden, stolen glances that lingered just a second too long. One rainy night, Serena couldn't sleep. A piano melody drifted from the next room. She peeked through the door and saw Leo, alone in the dark, fingers gliding over the keys. "I didn't know you played," she said, stepping in. Leo didn't look up. "Mom made me learn. Now it just helps me be silent without feeling empty." She sat across from him. No more words were needed. Because in that quiet moment, the distance between them collapsed, not through words, but through sound and shared presence. One morning, as Serena watered the garden, a splash hit her cheek. "Watch out," Leo smirked, holding the hose like a kid. "You did that on purpose?" "Never. The sunlight just reflected off your smile." "You're insufferable," she scolded, unable to stop her grin. He looked at her, eyes unexpectedly soft. "Serena, why are you here?" She blinked. "What do you mean?" "You don't belong in a world like mine. I ruin everything I touch. But you're like light. Steady, kind, and you don't run." Serena met his gaze. She wanted to say something, but instead she whispered, "Because I promised not to." Leo said nothing else, but that night, as Serena drifted into restless sleep, she dreamed of him. Not as Leo Kingston, the cold, stubborn CEO, but as Leo, the boy who sat at a piano with sad eyes and a heart reaching quietly toward the light, and that heart was beginning to beat in rhythm with hers. Leo wasn't sure when he started watching Serena more than he should. Maybe it was that night she sat quietly listening to him play the piano. Maybe it was her soft laugh when he served her that pathetic bowl of noodles. Or maybe it was the look in her eyes, like something inside her had died. One evening, when the house had gone still, Serena sat alone on the front porch bench. Leo was about to walk past silently, but she spoke first. "Have you ever lost someone before you got the chance to say goodbye?" He stopped. The night breeze tugged gently at her hair, veiling half her face. In the dim light, he noticed her fingers gripping a simple silver necklace. "Your mother?" he asked. She nodded. "She died of a heart attack. I didn't even know she had a condition. I thought she was just tired, just needed rest. But then one morning I woke up, and she wasn't breathing anymore." Leo said nothing. Serena didn't cry. But there was a crack in her voice that no silence could mend. "She was all I had. No uncles, no cousins. Just her." Her eyes stayed fixed ahead, holding back the tears. "After that, Margot came. She brought me here. I never understood why she did that." Leo sat beside her, wordless. Not because he didn't want to speak, but because, for once, words felt like the wrong tool. "Now I live like I owe everyone something," Serena whispered. "Like I don't have the right to grieve. So I try to be useful. I try not to let anyone down. Not again." He turned to her, his usual cold gaze replaced with something softer. "Serena, you don't have to earn your place here. You're here because you deserve to be. For the first time, Serena looked at him. Really looked. And for the first time, Leo Kingston, the man who avoided pain like the plague, felt his heart tilt towards someone not out of duty, but out of understanding. Since that night, since she told him about her mother, Leo had started seeing Serena differently. Not as the quiet housekeeper who floated through his mansion, but as a person, someone with pain, someone with a past. And once you've seen someone's wounds, you can't just look away. "Come shopping with me," Leo said one Saturday morning, his voice as flat as if he were inviting her to take out the trash. Serena blinked. "Seriously? I thought you hated being followed." "Not followed, accompanied." "Ah, so it's for your mom's peace of mind." He looked up. "No, it's for mine." The mall was packed in the late afternoon. Leo wore a cap and sunglasses but still looked like a movie star. Serena kept her distance, trailing behind. But it didn't take long before Leo slowed down and matched her pace. "I don't like being left behind," he muttered. "You're always ahead of everyone," she replied. "Maybe because no one ever walks beside me." As they walked toward the underground parking lot, Serena felt something shift, not the air, her instincts. She turned. A black SUV idled nearby, headlights on, engine humming. A man sat in the driver's seat, phone in hand, eyes hidden behind dark glasses, locked on them. "Leo!" She grabbed his wrist. He followed her gaze. His posture changed instantly, sharp, alert. "Walk. Don't run. Get in the car. Now." They had just closed the doors when, bang, the rear windshield shattered. Serena screamed, ducking. "Down!" Leo barked, throwing himself in front of her. "Stay low." Gunshots echoed. Shards of glass flew like rain. Serena's body shook. "What the hell is happening?" "They're after you." Leo reached under the seat, pulling out a pistol. "Me?" "Not me. You." His eyes met hers, terrified, confused. Another bullet grazed the door, inches from her head. Leo flung the driver door open, rolling behind a column. "Stay here, no matter what. Don't open the door. Don't trust anyone." Serena pressed herself to the floor. Her heart pounded so loud she could barely hear. She wasn't supposed to be important. She wasn't supposed to be a target. Why was someone trying to kill her? Then she remembered her mother's voice. "Don't close your eyes when you're scared. Look at it." So she looked, and through a slit in the seat, she saw a figure moving toward Leo, blade in hand. "Leo, behind you." Leo turned just in time, ducking a vicious slash. He punched the man, twisted his arm, and tackled him. "Who sent you?" he growled. "Give up the girl." The man spat. "She wasn't meant to live." Leo's eyes burned. "You'll have to kill me first." The man lunged again, blade out. Leo kicked him down, disarmed him, and pinned him with brute force. Another gunshot from afar. Serena screamed. Leo returned fire. His hand trembled, but his aim was true. The second attacker went down. Sirens wailed. Leo dragged the first man out, tying his wrists with a charger cable. When the police arrived, Serena burst from the car. "Leo!" "Right here!" he called, blood on his sleeve but alive. She ran to him, flung her arms around his chest, tears, breathlessness, tremors. He held her tight. "We're okay," he whispered. "You're safe now." And in that moment, Serena knew something had changed forever. Not just who wanted her gone, but who would never let her face it alone. Less than 2 hours after the ambush, the Kingston estate looked like a private military base. Security guards were stationed at every corner. The front gate, the hallways, even the backyard where Serena used to water the roses. Surveillance cameras were installed overnight. Electric fencing went up along the walls. Serena stood at the second-floor window, staring at the gate below. She wasn't used to this kind of noise, or this kind of protection. "I know it's a lot," came the calm voice of Asher Kingston behind her, Leo's older brother, head of the city's top private security firm. I thought you were just the guy who stayed quiet at dinner, Serena smiled weakly. Asher smirked. I'm the guy who keeps people safe. Silence is just a tool. He stepped closer, his tone more serious. You might not know what's going on yet, but the person trying to kill you isn't some street thug. This is big, and we're not letting you face it alone. Leo entered in all-black gym clothes, tension still etched on his face. Mom's talking to the lawyers, he said. Asher tripled the security team. Your room has its own encrypted access now. I didn't mean to cause all this. Serena! Leo stepped closer, gaze unwavering. You didn't cause anything. Your family, and we protect our own. For the first time in her life, Serena felt like she belonged somewhere. Not because of duty, but because someone truly wanted her to stay. 3 days after the attack, Serena was asked to come into Margot Kingston's private study. The air in the Kingston estate felt heavier than usual. Asher sat by the desk, a thick folder in hand. Leo stood behind him, arms crossed, staring out the window. Serena knew whatever they were about to say would change everything. Have a seat, Asher said in his usual calm, clipped tone. She sat down, tension coiling in her stomach. Is something wrong? Margot leaned forward gently. Serena, we've identified the man who attacked you, and more importantly, why he was after you. Leo clenched his jaw. Serena turned to him. For the first time, his eyes didn't avoid hers. They held her, steady and grounding. Who are you, Serena? Asher asked. Who are you, really? She blinked. I don't understand. We found your mother's old hospital records, Asher continued. Her name was Serena Valesco. She worked at a private clinic 23 years ago. The important part is, Margot added, she had a child with Richard Halston, heir to one of the largest financial empires in New York. Serena froze. She had never heard that name, or maybe she had, but it felt too distant, too far from her own small life. He passed away 3 months ago, Leo said quietly, with no official heirs. But in his will, he stated that everything would go to his lost daughter, if she was ever found. And that daughter, Asher looked directly at her, is you. Serena couldn't breathe. The room spun. Suddenly everything made sense. The silence from her mother, Margot's strange glances, the feeling of being watched. This can't be, she whispered. I'm just a maid's daughter. No, Margot said, taking her hand. You're the daughter of a powerful man, and that makes you a threat to people who want that truth buried. Asher laid the file down. Because you're the heir, everyone involved in the inheritance has reason to eliminate you. The attack wasn't random, Leo said, stepping closer. It was a message, but if you stay here, we'll protect you with everything we've got. Serena stepped back, overwhelmed. I don't want this. I never asked for money. I don't want an empire. I just wanted peace. No one's blaming you, Margot said softly. But you can't keep running. You need to know who you really are. Serena's fists clenched. She thought of her mother, the woman who always grew quiet when she asked about her father, the one who smiled sadly and said, "One day, when you're old enough, you'll understand." Now she did, and it terrified her. But when her gaze found Leo's, Leo, who threw himself into danger for her, who now stood like a pillar between her and the storm, she knew she wasn't alone. "I'll stay," Serena said, her voice trembling but clear. "But I don't want the fortune. I want the truth. I want to know why my mother kept this from me and why I've become a target." Leo nodded, lips pressed into a firm line. "Then we'll find those answers together." In the days following the revelation, Serena lived between two worlds. One side held the shock of learning she was the daughter of a financial titan. The other held gratitude for still being alive and for having Leo by her side. She didn't leave the Kingston estate, not out of fear, but because it had quietly become home. Leo had changed. He was no longer the cold, arrogant CEO she had first met. He had grown quieter, more deliberate, the way he poured tea into her cup without asking, the way he turned on the balcony light because he knew she liked reading at night, the way he always walked one step behind her, not to control, but to shield. One afternoon, standing together in the back garden, Serena asked hesitantly, "Have you ever thought this thing between us might be wrong?" Leo looked up from the flower bed, his expression softening. "Wrong how?" "I used to be the housemaid, and you're Serena," he cut in firmly. "Not a title, not a role, just you. And you're the only person who's ever made me want to be someone better." She stood still, stunned. That night, it rained heavily. Serena couldn't sleep. She walked down the hallway and saw the soft golden light spilling out from Leo's room. She turned to leave, but the door creaked open. "Can't sleep?" Leo asked, his voice raspy. "Neither can you. Probably for the same reason." They sat on the porch bench, listening to the rain. A peaceful silence settled between them. "I used to think I had no worth," Serena said quietly, "that I should exist quietly so I wouldn't be a burden." Leo turned to her, gaze unwavering. "You have more worth than anyone I've ever met. You endure, you rise, and you're still kind." He reached out, gently resting his hand over hers. "You made me believe that not everything is terrifying, that some things are worth holding on to." Serena looked at him, heart pounding. Leo's eyes no longer guarded, no longer hiding, but open, honest, and hoping. "I'm scared," she whispered. "So am I. What if this complicates everything?" He smiled slightly, never breaking eye contact. "Then we'll be complicated together." And then he leaned in, slowly, carefully, as if asking permission, as if afraid to break something fragile. When their lips met, it wasn't a kiss of passion, it was recognition, a silent promise between two people who had once been alone and had finally found one another. From that night on, no one said it aloud, but everyone knew. From the way Leo looked at her when she walked into a room, from the peaceful silences they shared, where no words were needed, from the rare calm inside Serena's heart. For the first time in years, she wasn't just surviving. She was living. After that kiss, there was no need for Serena and Leo to define what they had. Everything that was once unspoken became visible in the gentle way he looked at her, in how their fingers found each other naturally as they walked down the stairs, in the quiet peace they shared on the porch while listening to the rain. But peace, as always, was the most fragile thing of all. That afternoon, they had gone together to the law office to finalize documents related to Richard Halston's will. Serena signed with slightly trembling hands. Even though she had accepted the truth, she still wasn't used to seeing Serena Halston printed in bold on official documents. Leo placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "You're braver than anyone I've ever known." On the way back, the sun dipped below the horizon. Warm orange light bathed the highway, casting everything in a golden glow. Serena rested her head on Leo's shoulder, eyes fluttering shut. The driver hummed along to the soft music playing on the radio. "We're exactly where we're meant to be, right?" she whispered. Leo didn't respond immediately. He turned and kissed her gently on the forehead. But that moment was shattered by the roar of an engine behind them. A black SUV sped up and closed in aggressively. Serena sat up instantly. "They're tailing us," the driver shouted, "and they're not friendly." "Change lanes, step on it," Leo barked. Gunshots cracked through the air. The rear window shattered. Serena screamed and ducked. Leo pulled her down to the floor, shielding her. "Stay down. Don't lift your head." A bullet grazed the side of the car. Glass exploded. Serena flinched as a shard sliced into her arm. Leo opened the glove compartment, grabbed his pistol, and cracked the door open. He leaned out and returned fire. 3 sharp shots. 1 gunman fell from the SUV's roof. "These guys aren't warning us," Leo growled. "They're here to kill." Serena stared at him, her voice shaking. "Because of me?" "Because you're the last threat to their plan." Another shot rang out. Leo jerked. A bullet struck his shoulder. Blood spread across his shirt. "Leo!" Serena screamed, catching him as he collapsed against the seat. "I'm fine, just the shoulder," he gasped. "You're bleeding. Don't say you're fine." Her tears fell freely as she pressed her hands to the wound, trying desperately to stop the bleeding. Sirens wailed in the distance. "Reinforcements incoming," the driver shouted. Moments later, 2 armored vehicles from Kingston security flanked the enemy SUVs. One blocked the lead car, while the other forced the back vehicle to swerve. A fierce gunfight broke out. In under 5 minutes, the attackers were neutralized and their vehicles disabled. When the car finally stopped, Serena flung the door open. "Help! He's hurt." Medics rushed in. Leo was lifted onto a stretcher. He opened his eyes weakly as Serena grabbed his hand. "You can't die. I haven't told you the most important thing." Leo smiled faintly, his eyes fluttering shut. "I know, and I'll live to hear you say it every single day." Leo's recovery was slow. The shoulder wound wasn't life-threatening, but painful and stubborn. In those hospital days, Serena was always there, reading aloud, making tea, sometimes just holding his hand in silence. The memory of that terrifying night still haunted her, but the more time she spent by Leo's side, the more she realized she was no longer the girl who only knew how to run. A week later, Serena was summoned to the notary office alongside Margot and the Halston Foundation's legal counsel. There, she was officially named the sole heir of the Halston fortune. Bank shares, properties, investment firms, all transferred to the one blood-recognized daughter. The document in front of her felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. One signature, and she'd become a woman who could move billions with a single decision. "You don't have to sign until you're ready," Margot said gently. Serena said nothing. Her heart was a storm. Her mother's hidden past, a father who never claimed her, strangers who tried to kill her, none of this was her choice. She looked at Margot, voice trembling. "If I sign, does it mean I forgive the father who abandoned my mother?" "No," Margot replied softly. "It means you forgive yourself for ever believing you weren't worthy." That evening, Serena walked into Leo's hospital room, holding the legal file. He was reading, his face brighter than in days past. "I didn't sign yet," she said before he could ask. "I don't know if I have the right to keep something that was never really mine." Leo put the book down. "You're wrong. It was always yours. You just weren't given the chance to claim it." "I'm scared," she admitted. "Scared that if I step into that world, I'll lose myself." "Serena." His voice was deep, warm. "You don't have to become someone else. Just be you. And if anyone deserves to rise, it's the girl who survived, stood tall, and still knows how to love." She looked up, her eyes meeting his, clear, honest, and unwavering. "You could run," Leo continued, "but you'd always feel something missing. Because you weren't born to hide. You were born to lead." The next morning, Serena signed the documents. As the pen lifted from the page, a strange sensation washed over her. Not power, but peace. No more fear, no more shame. She had chosen. And her choice wasn't for money, it wasn't for status. It was because finally she knew who she was, and she forgave. Not the past, but herself. A year had passed since the day Serena signed the inheritance papers, also the day she chose to take ownership of her life. A year filled with change, where pain transformed into strength, and love quietly bloomed before bursting open like an unexpected flower in the middle of a storm. Today, the sky was clear, a soft breeze played with the garden leaves. The flowers in the Kingston estate's backyard were in full bloom, as if celebrating. Serena stood before the mirror in her wedding gown, hands trembling slightly. She was no longer the quiet girl at the end of the table, no longer the unsure heir. She was Serena, steadfast, brave, and about to become the wife of the man who had saved her from fear and from her past self. The ceremony was held in the garden where they once stood, silently side by side, where she once asked him, "Are we a mistake?" Now, in front of family and friends, and with Leo waiting at the end of the aisle in a navy blue suit, eyes fixed only on her, there was no doubt. As Serena walked forward, the murmurs faded, the breeze lifted her veil, and when their eyes met, the world seemed to pause. Leo held out his hand. She took it. "Ready?" he whispered. "I've been ready for a long time," she smiled. After the vows, after their first kiss as husband and wife, came applause, laughter, and joyful tears. Now CEO of the Halston Kingston conglomerate stood watching with quiet pride. Margot wiped away tears. Even the skeptics could see Serena belonged here. The Halston enterprise not only survived, it thrived under Serena's leadership. She hadn't become the cold executive people feared. She listened, she led, she expanded not through power, but through compassion and vision. The shadows behind the old inheritance had been exposed. The enemies who once wanted her gone were either brought to justice or erased from the board permanently. That evening, when the guests had gone home, Serena and Leo sat together in the garden, where it all began. String lights twinkled overhead. Red wine shimmered in their glasses. The air was soft and quiet. Leo turned to her, his gaze warm under the lights. "You know," he murmured, "I used to think I didn't deserve anything beautiful in life." Serena rested her head on his shoulder. "But you changed." "No, I didn't change because I wanted to. I changed because of you." He turned, eyes soft. "You're not just my wife. You're my miracle." Serena smiled, tears glistening. And in that garden full of memories, under the quiet sky, what ended was only a chapter. What began was everything.